I just don't want this thing between you and Eminem to turn into a Tupac and Biggie. Is that where we're headed?
You know, I just want the real Slim Shady to stand up, right? Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Because I can't believe that he just said what he did, what I think he did, you know? So that's the reality, because Eminem, he's funny. I still like the guy, but he was the insurgent, man. He was the guy who stood up to the establishment when the FCC said, you know, let me be me. That was him, right? And now this is the guy who's saying that if somebody disagrees with my newfound political views, this irreverent guy who I looked up to growing up has now become part of sort of the new woke establishment. He has a different point of view on a new insurgent, but that's all right. You know, I still have high hopes that he's going to grow out of it and become the real Slim Shady again.
Well, for any of our audience that isn't aware, Vivek at a campaign event, I believe in Iowa, I think we have a clip. Vivek rapped "Lose Yourself." Let's play that clip.
Oh, wow, loud. He opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's joking now. Everybody's joking now. The clock's run out. Time's up. Over. Plow. Snap.
All right, I've heard enough. Vivek's not a very good rapper, but
oh, come on, you got the worst
enough.
part of that, man. You got you guys. That selective editing is just inappropriate. What I will say is this. What I will say is this:
let me frame the question.
Oh, yeah.
Let me frame the question. Hold for one. So I loved this, and there were people at the time. Oh, this is unpresidential, and I was like, nah, man, we're well past that. I just want Vivek to be authentic. And as a guy in his mid-30s, this is pretty authentic. I would imagine in high school or whenever Vivek was young, this was a popular song. This is authentic. Eminem filing a cease and desist seems over the top and stupid. He turned nothing into something, but I guess that's the price all these celebrities have to pay. They have to come out of, well, we're against Vivek. We're against anybody with an R next to their name. Now,
I think the reality is, we can graduate from this culture, but it's going to take some people being fearless about it. All right, I think we have a culture of fear. And I'm looking at the name of your show, Fearless. I didn't even mean it that way, but I think that's the spirit we're going to need, where there's this culture of fear across the country, Jason. You know this well. There's what people will say in private and what people will say in public, and there's a gap. And if you want my question on this, you want to know what the best measure of the health of American democracy is? It's the percentage of people who feel free to say what they actually think in public. Right now, we're doing poorly. I think we can do better again, but it's just going to take all of us, including people like you, people like me, but people at home listening to this, all of us doing our part, standing up with a spine and speaking our minds openly. And the funny thing is, back when I was in my 20s, part of the reason I loved heterodox figures like Eminem is that that's what they did do. They stand up to the establishment. But at a certain point, you become part of the establishment. And even with the woke culture in America, I will say this. I never agreed with that type of ideology, but rewind 20 years ago, there's something about anyone who wants to be heterodox and stand up to the man that I'll respect, even if I disagree with you. But the part of the problem is what began as a challenge to the system became the new system, right? And so what I tell young people today is, now you want to be heterodox, you want to be countercultural, you want to be a hippie, you want to stick it and stand up to the man. Try calling yourself a conservative. Try saying you want to marry somebody of the opposite sex and have children and stay married and raise them and follow your faith in God and that you like the United States of America and you pledge allegiance to the flag. That is the new counterculture in the United States of America. And I know that might sound funny in one breath, but in another breath, it's actually true. And I think that is what the new insurgency of this country looks like. And that's my job as the youngest person ever to run for U.S. president in our party. I want to make faith and family and hard work and patriotism cool again, actually, because I think they are inherently cool, but not in some wrapper of, hey, we have to bring back and go back to the past. No. This is where we're going, right? We're running to something. We're not just running from something. This is where we're headed. And you want to call me a progressive for that? I'm fine with that. If we're making progress towards an actual positive vision, great, count me in. I am making progress and leading our conservative movement to be the party of progress towards something. And I think that that's part of what's allowed us to be so successful so far in this race, but we're just getting warmed up. I think that's what's going to allow us to succeed in reviving this nation between now and when I leave office in January 2033 after 2 terms. That's how we're actually going to do it.
Vivek, you're probably the only, you're certainly the only presidential candidate that I feel like I can have an informed discussion about this next part of this Eminem thing that I'm going to bring up. And so I don't know if this conversation will help advance your political aspirations, but you're a smart guy. You like rap. You can rap all of Eminem's song, one of his most popular songs. So I have to ask you this. When I'm looking at this, when I looked at this when he did the cease and desist and thought about it this morning, to me, it spoke to me like, man, rap music is dead. Rap music used to be the form of art and music that was anti-establishment and rebellious. You may not remember this, but like when Bill Clinton was running for office, there was a rapper, Sister Soldier, that rapped some things, and rap used to drive a lot of the political discussion. Now it's dead, and I had this thought this morning. I was like, and it's these country music guys. It's Oliver Anthony that's actually driving discussion and saying anti-establishment things, and it disappoints me. Like, what happened to rap music? It became that materialistic that there'll never be another Chuck D. There'll never be what Eminem or any of these guys used to be.
So Oliver Anthony's like the new Eminem. I mean, that's the reality, right? You stand up to a new establishment, and and you know, so there's a disappointing side to that, Jason, but there's also a heartening side to that. You know what? That's cool. That's just the way it looks, right? Because back in the 90s, what you would say is, oh, I'm disappointed with the music establishment that has just decided they want to silence anybody who's defecting from the orthodoxy. And there comes Eminem. And he breaks right through saying, in his choice words, which I'm not going to repeat, you know, screw you guys. I'm going to do this anyway, my way. And you're not going to shut me up. And you know what? You're going to do it till I collapse, which happened to be one of his better songs. And so, you know what? That cycle repeats itself. And so it's not that Marshall Mathers III is the same individual he was. It's the symbol of what the OG version of it actually was that's now being channeled in the form of the next generation, even if that's not him. That's what's more important. So it's not a personal thing. It's a question of, how do you actually stand up to the prevailing system? Creative destruction. In some ways, that's so American, right? That is the American quality. Think about our founding fathers, right? These guys were the pioneers. They were the explorers, the daring, the people who said, no, you are not going to stop me from doing whatever I feel like doing because I'm a free man, and it's not going to be some autocrat sitting across on some throne halfway across the world or an ocean that tells me how I live my life. And today, if that's a 3-letter government agency, then so be it the same way. You know, the funny story is, like, so I'm sitting on a swivel chair right now, okay? Funny story about the swivel chair. Thomas Jefferson invented it. He invented it while he was writing the Declaration of Independence. People say I'm too young to be president. I'm 38. He was 33 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. Notebook like this one, I carry it around with me too, but he's writing the Declaration of Independence and decides that the still chair's cramping his style. He says, I feel like I need to move. He thinks about it. He just invents the swivel chair. What do we say today? You say, no, you can't do that. You're not an expert. You didn't go to 4-year college training to be an engineer. You can't do that. You didn't file a patent on it. That's the world we live in today. Whereas you think about the actual spirit of this country. No, Thomas Jefferson was the real Slim Shady in a certain sense, in the spirit of saying that, you know what? I'm going to declare independence from this foreign autocrat. And if I feel like inventing the swivel chair, darn right, I'm going to do it. And Benjamin Franklin, you want to co-sign this thing? And Benjamin Franklin's like, yeah, you know what? I also invented the bifocal spectacles and the Franklin stove. And yeah, the common cold, it kind of sucks. And so here's a remedy I made for it. But are you a doctor? Are you Dr. Fauci approved? No, we don't have that conversation back in 1776. And so what am I doing right now? I'm bringing back 1776 in this country. Whatever was in the water then, we're putting that in the water now, and we're about to gulp that down in the United States of America. Take a swig, have at it, and say that, you know what? Nobody's going to stop me from speaking the truth, doing it without apology, stopping at no frontier. The United States of America is the nation of pioneers. That's who we are. That's why I liked Eminem version 1.0, but if Marshall Mathers doesn't like it now, that's fine. Let's move on to the next guy. That's part of what the actual model of the Phoenix in this country looks like.